else. We're going to take you through that in our deep dive segment. And Ruckus in Bihar, we have the Election Commission now deleting nearly 50 lakh voters' names off the electoral list. Opposition crying foul. And finally, Karnataka's cash versus UPI. You have several vendors in Karnataka now switching to cash from UPI, saying they are receiving GST tax notices. In detail, after the headlines. Congress's Jairam Ramesh flags Dhankar'S abrupt resignation hours after key BAC meet. No shows by Nadda. Rijiju says far deeper reasons than just health. Air India flight from Hong Kong to Delhi reported fire in its auxiliary power unit post-landing. All passengers, crew are safe. Minor aircraft damage has been reported. That flight is now grounded. Election Commission of India flags 18.6 lakh dead voters in Bihar rolls, bringing the total number of missing or problematic entries in the electoral list to 52.3 lakhs. Ruckus has erupted in the Bihar Assembly after the opposition MLAs demanded a debate on the special intensive revision exercise, which the opposition says a deliberate attempt to wipe off poor and minority voters. Karnataka street vendors, in fact, they're all now up in arms against the UPI tax notices that they've got. They're deciding to protest from 23rd to 24th of July against hefty tax fines that they've received, demanding more clarity and exemption on untaxed goods. They allege that officials were levying fines without clear criteria, jeopardizing their livelihood. Iconic MiG-21 jet to be phased out after 60 plus years. Indigenous LCA Tejas Mk-1A to take over at Nal Air Base. Indian Air Force will get at least half a dozen Tejas light combat aircraft by March 2026, confirms HAL. Madras High Court orders 25 lakh as interim relief to Ajit Kumar's family, the temple guard who was assaulted in police custody. In fact, the court observes how this has happened under the state government's watch. Court slamming the state for inadequate response. US to destroy 9.7 million worth of contraceptives that has been meant for crisis-hit women abroad, sparking outrage from lawmakers. Democrats slamming this move as wasteful and dangerous for global maternal health. In fact, legislation introduced to halt this destruction. Senator Lindsey Graham says Trump is all set to impose steep 100% tariffs on nations importing Russian oil, naming India, China and Brazil. The move is aimed at choking off Putin's war funding. Many countries currently account for 80% of Russia's crude exports. Finally, Harvard battles 2.6 billion federal funding cut in court, calling move an attack on academic freedom and scientific research. Lawsuit claims that these Trump freezes are aimed to pressure universities into political compliance on research decisions. Harvard now deciding to sue Trump. India's Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar has decided to resign, and it may not just be over health reasons. A lot more that could be behind this decision. The Vice President has now resigned. That resignation has been accepted. This is not just unexpected, it's of course left the entire political and legal circles stunned. At 9:25 p.m., in fact 9:25 p.m. last night precisely was when Jagdeep Dhankar's office posted a short letter addressing it to President Draupadi Murmu, where he cited ill health for his reason of stepping down from the position as Vice President. He said, "I will resign with immediate effect," in that letter. The President accepted this resignation. Today, Draupadi Murmu, the President, has accepted it at around 12 p.m. But the timing of Jagdeep Dhankar's resignation, of course, is questionable. This comes in the backdrop of a lot that's happening currently. First of all, the monsoon session that's just about begun. Now, just hours before Jagdeep Dhankhar quit, in his role as the chairman of the Rajya Sabha, he admitted an opposition-backed notice to remove a sitting judge, Justice Yashwant Verma, whose name is now linked to a massive cash recovery from his residence. So, the opposition called for his impeachment, and it appears that the Vice President, Jagdeep Dhankhar, who also acts as the Rajya Sabha chairperson, accepted this impeachment motion. The move was unprecedented, but it reportedly did not go down well with the ruling government, the NDA, which was reportedly planning its own response to the Yashwant Verma scandal in the judiciary. Now, sources say Dhankhar was told a no-confidence motion might be moved against him because the centre is upset. He got whiff of it, some sense that something like this could happen. So he, again, these are source-based information. We can't put a finger on it, but this is precisely what we hear loudly, chatters on the ground coming in that Jagdeep Dhankhar, instead of being moved out through a no-confidence motion, decided very quietly to exit on his own terms. What adds to the intrigue, of course, is a press note from his own office just hours earlier, where it still mentioned Jagdeep Dhankhar as the Vice President, his plans to Jaipur later this week. So there was really no inclination or hints that he gave at any given point that his health was so bad that he wanted to resign. No indication at all of any sudden medical emergency. And of course, then the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi's response to his resignation as well, a very formal tweet 15 hours later, no mention of Dhankar's contribution at all, no tribute to him either, just a short wish for his health. Now, some in the opposition have said that Jagdeep Dhankhar may have felt undermined, especially after key ministers skipped a meeting that he chaired, and after a remark by BJP's JP Nadda in the House seen as disrespecting the chair. Remember, Dhankhar wasn't a quiet vice president. His term saw direct confrontations with opposition MPs and even with the judiciary on the NJAC. Just last year, the opposition had tried to move a motion against him as well, but it appears he survived through all of that turmoil to come to a point where he himself put down his resignation. Now he joins a very short list of vice presidents in India who resigned before completing their term. What next? The Rajya Sabha now has no chairperson. The race begins for a new vice president. And the bigger question, what impact will this really have on the monsoon session that's just about begun? Let me bring in for a little more to unpack on the developments here on Vice President Jagdeep Dhankhar resigning from his post. Pankaj Sharma, senior journalist, joins us. Also Ajit K. Jha, senior journalist, and Sanjay Rana, political analyst, also with us today. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining on board at a time when the country is talking about the Vice President's sudden exit. We still can't put a finger as to what really happened. We know Jagdeep Dhankhar wasn't keeping too well, but he was fit enough to start off the monsoon session so vociferously, where he accepted the motion, the impeachment motion against Justice Verma, the opposition's motion. He even gave a speech, he gave a bite, we heard that, we played that out the whole day today. So Jagdeep Dhankhar was fairly fit enough to possibly pull through this monsoon session. What really happened? Pankaj Sharma, you will speak for the Congress, I know. Would you start?
No, I want to speak for the Congress.
Well,
please. I am a political analyst. I have nothing to do with the Congress party. I want to speak for the Congress. But now, let me tell you that, there are very serious reasons behind the resignation of Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar. And in my opinion, there should be an internal parliamentary probe into this whole affair. Why he had to resign? See, there are several stories. He was being humiliated every day, verbally rebuked, routinely harassed by the henchmen of the ruling dispensation who are present in the union cabinet. So there is a limit for anyone. And for that matter, a person like Mr. Dhankar also, who has been otherwise very, very ruthlessly harsh with the opposition. And he used to disrupt every opposition leader with so much frequency that it was difficult for opposition to say anything in the House. He has always been citing the ruling party. Person like him to resign suddenly, if it is because of health reason, he could have resigned before the session. He could have resigned after the session. He could have discussed his health issues with the President of India, with the Prime Minister.
Yes.
He didn't do anything and he suddenly resigned.
Yeah.
Yesterday, the entire day, he was conducting the proceedings of the House. He was, we all have seen that he's in a good health. So health is not the reason. What is the reason? It should come out. There should be a parliamentary probe into this whole affair.
Well, Ajit Jha, if you want to jump in on this and your take on Jagdeep Dhankhar resigning so abruptly, and there's so much chatter around the BJP NDA being unhappy with him for accepting the impeachment motion that was pushed by the opposition. It sounds very bizarre to me. Why don't you give us a little clarity on what you think has happened? This is, of course, speculation, and we're going to delve into the speculation here because we have no other concrete information. We saw Prime Minister Modi very formally wishing him good luck. There was no tribute or the mention of the contributions that he made to the party. He's been pro-BJP, has been a hand-picked man, was a West Bengal governor, picked by the BJP NDA to be the Vice President. He got the unanimous vote from the ruling. So a man who was favoured all along, what happened?
You see, there is something called underlying reason and something called immediate reason. The immediate reason is the reason that you provided yourself. The fact that you said on day one of the monsoon session, he took government by surprise. In fact, he almost embarrassed the NDA government when he allowed the notice of motion for removal of High Court Judge Verma, especially given the fact that they were all signed by, the petitions were all signed by 63 opposition MPs, while at the same time in Lok Sabha, which is the more important house, much more powerful house, the government had a serious plan of moving the same motion, but the government was going to move it. So what ended up happening, the opposition by default, by Mr. Dhankar'S error of judgment, ended up getting the moral high ground. Now it's the opposition who, it seems, is pushing very hard for removal of Justice Verma, not the government not the NDA government. So I think, given the fact that he was a lawyer, given the fact that he was a senior leader, enormous experience, as you pointed out, how did he make this error of judgment? Either he completely forgot that he should have talked to the treasury benches, he should have talked to the government of the day, with the BJP president. He should have, he's part of a team. He's not a single player. And this is one problem that Mr. Dhankhar always had. He always would end up, without clearing from the government, he went left, right and center attacking the judiciary exactly at the time when the NDA government was trying to mend its fences with the judiciary. Mr. Dhankhar was fond of attacking judges. He did similar things with opposition. If you remember that famous case he did where he sacked almost the entire members of the opposition. Later on, he was embarrassing the government when he went on attacking Jaya Bhaduri. She was literally crying in the house and he was almost, acting as a bully. Now, these were some of the problems he had in his personality.
Here, most of what you just said has squarely laid the blame on Jagdeep Dhankhar. My question here is, we hear that nobody from the ruling actually attended the meeting which was supposed to have representatives like JP Nadda and others. They skipped the meeting. Jagdeep Dhankhar, in his right as the chair of the Rajya Sabha, well, as per his experience, decided to accept the impeachment motion. Should he have consulted with the government? Is that the norm? And because he didn't, was that the reason for friction? And can we blame Dhankhar for this, or?
I would blame Dhankhar for it, precisely because, he has been the chairman of the Rajya Sabha for, almost 3 years. Only 2 years were left for, 2027. He would have finished his tenure, number one. Number two, he has studied the law. He knows the law. He knows the constitution. He knows the fact that the lower house is much more important on these issues than the upper house. The upper house is a merely advisory, forum. The money bill doesn't pass that there. Many other important issues of the day is passed by the lower house. He knows that Prime Minister Modi is an MP, a member of parliament of the lower house. The fact that the government has already decided to take a firm stand on this issue of removal of judge. He was aware of all that. Either, as I said, there was an error of judgment. Maybe he was getting too old and he forgot. He should have consulted. Now, it is possible that other than these immediate reasons, there were long-term reasons. The fact that he was not getting along, the fact that he was rather unwell, twice or thrice he had to be hospitalized. All those could have been, as I said, the underlying reason. But the immediate reason was a massive embarrassment of the NDA government on this important issue of corruption of the judiciary. That's where he completely failed. And then the government didn't know how to handle the whole situation. So basically, he was asked to leave. It's not that he resigned out of choice. It was under pressure. Remember, he went to
but I still don't get this buzz. Sanjay Rana, if this narrative is indeed true, would you tell me, if the NDA indeed wanted to nip judicial corruption in the bud, if that was the intent, then Jagdeep Dhankhar was very well aligned with it. If impeachment was really the final nail to set an example that judicial corruption is not tolerated, then what really went wrong? If Jagdeep Dhankhar did what the NDA intended to do, what really snapped?
Good evening, Nabila. Good evening to my fellow panelists. I will tell you the facts, what exactly happened in the whole process. First of all, President or Vice President are the judicial position, or obviously is the constitutional position, and they should not act as a political activist or political party leader or political party spokesperson. They are the people, those who are driving the things as per the constitution, as per the guidelines, number one. As far as when you ask the question about the Yashwant Verma's impeachment, obviously Lok Sabha has taken action, and it was there in the business advisory discussion in Lok Sabha on the Monday, and they accepted it as per the policy. Any of the house, whether it's a lower house or upper house, accepted the any advisory discussion, then other house will not take any action. It is very surprising sometimes when the people talk about try to find out the loopholes and try to find out the gaps, whether gaps are there or not, what was the reason to do the investigation, what kind of investigation you want to have. Somebody is resigning on the ground of his health. He has all the right to resign. Suddenly, if you look at all the opposition party leaders from are supporting Mr. Dhankhar, they are standing behind Mr. Dhankhar. We are standing behind Mr. Dhankhar. But a few months back, if you look at December 2024, they were asking to resign, and he was working unconstitutionally against the opposition leader. Suddenly, he became a leader of choice. So, first of all, they need to opposition need to clear what they want and what's their objective. Number two. Number three, we need to understand what's the constitution, how the constitution works. If anything has happened, this should be consulting between the government, those who are ruling, and the president and the vice president take a corrective action. Number four, if you look at, it was not the matter of Yashwant Verma. It was a matter of something else for which he was pressurizing. He was about to sign on Tuesday, which is today at 1 p.m. as per the plan, which is not happened, and everyone, all the opposition leader were grouping behind Mr. Dhankhar. If you look at the tweet, we need to understand all the parameters, all the politics of how it's running. If you look at the tweet of Congress leader Mr. Jairam Ramesh, he said he's absolutely fine. Though they do have any kind of parameters, AI system inbuilt in the Congress and the Congress ecosystem, or do they have a thermometer to find out whether person is fine or not? Obviously, if somebody is not fine, he has all that right to resign. Number five, he is not the first vice president who has resigned. V.V. Giri was the first one who resigned in 1969, and after that, Mr. Venkatraman.
We know that, but we are discussing the reasons to why he resigned.
I know. I'm coming to the point. The reason is always there. I'm not saying reason is not there, but please understand, whether is the president or vice president or the governor, they should act as a constitutional body or as a head of constitution.
In that sense, Dhankhar has been assertive. He hasn't been a ceremonial chair as probably expected. He's been assertive. That hasn't worked out well for him.
Please understand. If suppose anything is going wrong, he made a couple of statements. You need to look at the statement he made in last 1 month. He made the statement when he was hospitalized. He came out from the hospital. He made the statement. Sonia Gandhiji was continuously consulting or were discussing with my wife. Any senior person or any person like president or vice president is admitted. Obviously, the people of the leaders of opposition or leader of the ruling party will obviously show the concern. They will call, but they will not do the politics. But if you are doing the politics, there's some kind of visionary which is coming up, and he should avoid that kind of thing. That's why it's happened. And he himself was cornered by the opposition leader, by the member of parliament. Each and every incident.
I'd like to bring in Pankaj Sharma on that. Pankaj, we saw, like Sir has just said, Mr. Sanjay Rana says that the opposition was always in crosshairs with Dhankar. They also they moved a no confidence motion against him earlier. So what explains this sudden alignment with opposition and Dhankar? Not saying that it is unusual. Well, let's accept it. It is unusual.
See, this is not about Dhankar. This is about the Vice President of India. This is about the Chairman of the Rajya Sabha.
Yes.
How can you mistreat a person who is holding a constitutional position? He was very, very good 6 months ago when he has been obediently towing the line. When he began doing certain things within his own rights with a neutral outlook, he became a villain in the eyes of the government, in the eyes of the ruling dispensation. So
why do you think if this narrative is to be believed, why do you think the BJP NDA is upset that he sided with the opposition, in your words, sided with the opposition and accepted the impeachment of Justice Verma? Why do you think they're upset? If the intent is to deal with judicial corruption, why do you think they're upset?
They are upset because the government, Narendra Bhai Modi, wants every credit for himself. He wanted that a motion of impeachment should first come in Lok Sabha. But Dhankar'S, in his own right, accepted the opposition moved impeachment motion in Rajya Sabha. Why should all the
my question to you is, how unusual is it for a vice president to act independently of the ruling dispensation? How unusual is it?
No, it's not unusual. It should actually happen. It should actually happen.
No, but going by track record, I will stress on my question: how unusual is it for a vice president to act independently of the ruling?
I think that vice presidents normally do not act on their will. They are an important part of the government, and they are a team player.
Should a vice president have this liberty or not?
So basically, they should be a team player. In fact, in the Sangha, in the RSS, it is always said that a great Swayamsevak is someone who जिसके पैर में चक्कर, दिल में टक्कर, but मुंह में शक्कर. Mr. Dhankar had none of those qualities. He always
you expect the Vice President of India to be a Swayamsevak of Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. So this expectation from a person who is holding a constitutional position, is it right?
Who made him the Vice President?
Why should the Vice President of India behave like a Swayamsevak?
Because he's part of the BJP. He was playing that game when he was governor of West Bengal. He was playing
Then
political
that time you were
Because-
very happy.
At this point, he
That time
decided
you were
not
very
to play the
happy.
game. He becomes the bad one.
No,
Well,
I think it was an error of judgment. He did not realize. He did not consult the party. He did not consult the party high command. He did not consult the prime minister. He went ahead because he thought he was
is
a
it
lawyer.
the
He
norm to
knew the-
consult? Is
Party
this the
high
norm to
command?
consult?
Yes. Yes,
Consulting
it's
the
a-
prime
it's
minister
a-
is
it's
a
a norm.
different thing.
It's a tradition.
Why should the vice
in Parliament
president consult?
where
It's a
the
tradition,
upper
it's
house
the
command,
norm.
president of the
A
political
chair of the Rajya Sabha deciding on
Yes.
impeachment, as big as a decision of impeaching a judge, which is unprecedented. It's a tradition and a norm to discuss with the ruling dispensation. I think that's the takeaway from here. It's quite natural then that the ruling will be upset. And it seems like Dhankhar has made his decision on that. Well, a quick and final word on Sanjay Rana. Now you don't have a chair for the Rajya Sabha. We don't have a vice president. How are you really going to expect the monsoon session to function smoothly? Was not expected to be smooth, but at
Nabil, I
least
don't think.
for
I
movement
don't
to
think-
happen, you need someone.
No, Nabil, I don't think this is going to make any impact on the functioning of Raj Sabha because Up Sabhapati is there who will take care of all the activities which are happening is going to happen in Raj Sabha. Number one. Number two, please, I'm not aligned with the gentleman who was talking before me that he was a Swayamsevak. Please, he was not a Swayamsevak for sure, but he was holding a constitution position and he need to consult as per the procedure and the guidelines of the constitution. He has to consult the government, then take any action, but he cannot take a one-sided action as per his wish. There is a protocol which we need to follow. If you're going against the protocol, obviously question will arise on you. And I'm very surprising all the opposition leaders and the journalists who was talking bad about Mr. Dhankar'S standing behind Mr. Dhankhar, and everyone is praising. This is good. He's a gentleman. We believe that he's a gentleman. If he's resigning, then we should not cry. We need to understand what was the situation was there and why he resigned. If it's saying he's resigning because of his health issue, then we need to accept it. And we do not have any thermometer or any kind of AI system to find out whether he's well or he's not well. So we need to understand what is the politics is all about and why politics is there. So constitutional position should not do the politics for sure. And if somebody is doing the political activity, then it's not acceptable in our democratic system for sure. So we need to understand what is the right, what is where we have to go, what we have to do. Every rules and rules are defined and they have a guidelines. Accordingly, we have to act. If the governor or if president is going to work as a prime minister, then what the prime minister will do. And number three, which is most important, if prime minister is going out of India, then vice president should be in Delhi and the chief justice of the India should be in Delhi. This is guidelines. How can you go? Prime minister is going to London and you're going to Jaipur. You cannot. Everything is designed well in advance. Therefore, couple of things which is going against the government, couple of things which is going beyond the guidelines and the protocol which he is supposed to follow. I'm not blaming anyone, but protocol need to be followed and accepted by the people because everything is governed by the policies. And if anyone is crossing the policies, then obviously red flag will arise and people will ask the questions.
All right. Well, I'm really short of words. Not too sure if I should insist that the Vice President or the Chair of the Rajya Sabha should act independently. That's what's expected. But at the same time, he's defied tradition and norm by not consulting with them on a big decision like this. At the end of it, of course, the ruling dispensation has been left red-faced. And it could very well be that Dhankhar, knowing his track record, could come out a few days later or months or years later to really say, to tell his tale, to tell us what really happened, bringing more embarrassment, I suppose, to the centre. But for the moment, you say that this has not disrupted the House. It will move on smoothly and we are looking forward to a smooth monsoon session. Thank you very much. We will be very closely tracking this story. On that note, I'm slipping into a short break. We'll be right back on the top stories on Day Tonight. The Bihar voter list. 52 lakh voters have been deleted from the list. Opposition roars, calling this foul. Taking you through on the other side. Stay with us.
Tata is going to be a mass market product. I was the first company to deploy 100 plus Tata Ace EV in the market. Moving was the first company to deploy 200 plus Tata Ace EV in the market. And Ami feel gori If you have a brand like Tata, if you have a product that you can trust, entrepreneurs like me or anyone who is starting in this business can think about scaling the volume from 100 to 200 and then eventually to 1000 vehicle operations also, because of the brand, because of the trust, because of the service that we are getting from the Tata brand. A small scale entrepreneur can also invest in this product because this product comes at a very attractive price. So this product is good for the driver and for the end customer who wants to reduce their cost of operation.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर एंकर टूथपेस्ट, नए जमाने की नई सुरक्षा।
ये रोशनी का सफर दिलचस्प है, दिलचस्प है।
हम सूरज से सिर्फ बिजली नहीं बनाते हैं, खुशहाली को देश के कोने कोने तक भी पहुंचाते हैं।
ये रोशनी का सफर
अदानी, हम करके दिखाते हैं।
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया।
Fresh air, the roof but different, the grill but different, the alloys but different, the seats but different. Different is in the XUV 3XO Rev X series, starting at rupees 8.94 lakh.
ये शहर भी तो अंगना तेरा मेरा, इसको भी रंग दो। Opus, इसको भी रंग दो, दुनिया को रंग दो।
Birla Opus Paints.
Welcome back. Cutting across to Bihar, the big story in a big move, maybe the first in recent times. The Election Commission of India has deleted over 52 lakh names from Bihar's voters list in its latest cleanup drive. Election Commission has justified this, saying that they've only removed names of dead voters, of duplicates and people who may have moved away. This drive is part of what's called a Special Intensive Revision or SIR, which the Election Commission is carrying out to ensure transparency in voters list. But opposition, of course, furious, dressed in black. MLAs from the RJD, Congress, left parties, AIMIM created chaos inside the Bihar Assembly for the second straight day, raising slogans, throwing placards, storming into the well of the house and literally toppling tables. That's what you see on our screens here. They call this correction by the Election Commission a voter deletion scam. They've accused the Election Commission of partnering with the BJP and trying to target the poor and minority voters in Bihar under the garb of this revision. Opposition there, furious and violent, you see that in the Bihar Assembly, have openly accused Nitish Kumar government of trying to rig the electoral rolls ahead of the upcoming Bihar elections. And protests, of course, not limited to Patna. Leaders like Rahul Gandhi and Akhilesh Yadav carried out an agitation in the parliament as well in Delhi, slamming the Election Commission's exercise as politically motivated and demanding a rollback of this. Now, a quick look at what really is this SIR initiative. The Election Commission basically calls this a routine pre-election verification process to clean up the voters list before elections. They say that Aadhaar, ration card or even voters ID are not proof of citizenship. So what is exactly the Election Commission accepting then? The EC basically says they are relying on fresh physical verification. That means door-to-door visits by booth-level officers, personal interaction with the voters or their family members to see if they are really there. They've got to provide supporting documents to those officials who are visiting their homes and establish their citizenship, their age and their residency. That this is indeed the place, the address where they stay, and that's proof. Essentially, the Election Commission wants to verify voters in person to ensure no duplication, no bogus entries, and to confirm that voter is an Indian citizen, lives at the address mentioned and is eligible. Now in court, Election Commission has defended these powers under the Constitution, saying that it's not about politics, it's about accuracy. They want to correct these voters lists, which across India are faulty on many levels. Now, the next hearing on this in the Supreme Court is on July 28th. Election Commission has also claimed success in the meanwhile, saying that Bihar will now be the first state in India where every polling booth will have fewer than 1,200 voters to ease voting on election day. But with over 52 lakh names that have been struck off and protests in the parliament only intensifying, we've got to see how this really plays out electorally. Will be very interesting to watch. Shifting our focus to Odisha. Odisha fast becoming infamous for horrific crimes against women. The kind of stories that are emerging from the state are deeply shocking and tragic. Latest case that comes from Malkangiri town, where a young girl was kidnapped and gang raped by 4 men. In fact, she was returning home from a friend's birthday party with another friend and her mother when a group of men abducted her, dragged her to a remote location and raped her. While her mother was with her, they were walking. She was first assaulted by 3 men nearly 15 kilometers away from the town. Somehow she escaped, only to fall into the hands of a truck driver who raped her yet again. Locals noticed this girl, intervened and rushed her home. Despite severe injuries, she managed to narrate the ordeal to the police. All 4 of them, 3 who abducted her, then later the truck driver who saw her and raped her again, all 4 have been arrested. We know multiple cases that have come to light in recent weeks from Odisha. Earlier this month, a young hockey player from Jaipur alleged that she was kidnapped from the road and gang raped by her coach Sarthak Mohanty and two of his friends, Sandeep Swain and Sagar Nayak, inside a lodge. In fact, that's the accused there, where this girl, a hockey player, claims that her coach got her abducted and raped her. In Balasore, remember, another 20-year-old college student set herself ablaze after she accused her college professor of sexually harassing her. Her cries for help were ignored. She died days later after she self-immolated. And in Bhubaneswar, another story where Odisha NSUI, Congress's student wing president, Udit Pradhan, has been arrested for allegedly drugging and raping a 19-year-old engineering student in a hotel room earlier this year. So multiple of such cases coming to light from Odisha, a list of disturbing cases only growing. How safe are women in Odisha? A big question now looming on the BJP government. Now, very sad story coming in from UAE, yet another case of dowry and death. Another case of a young Malayali woman dying under deeply disturbing circumstances in UAE has come to light. 29-year-old Atulya Shekhar from Kerala was found dead in her Sharjah apartment on July 18th, days after another Keralite woman, Vipanchika Mani, had ended her life and her toddler's life, allegedly due to dowry abuse. Now, that's the previous case, and now this is Atulya's case, is the next one that we're talking about, both from UAE, Sharjah. Atulya, we hear, has been married to Santish for 12 years. Satish Shankar, that's what his name is. In fact, those are the images of the couple. Her family alleges that Satish repeatedly assaulted her, brutally choked her, kicked her, would hit her with plates, ultimately leading to her death. They say that the abuse began early on, despite the family claiming that they gave 40 sovereigns of gold, a bike during wedding and whatnot. It was very sad to hear the story when they claim that they have given enough to the family for them to be happy. This shouldn't be the case, but sadly, that's what the family says, that they've given so much in dowry, apologies, that unfortunately, despite all of that, it appears that the girl was abused. The violence, they say, that never stopped. The murder case has now been filed against Satish under charges including dowry, harassment, grievous hurt and murder. Now, in a chilling media interview, Satish has shockingly admitted to hitting Atulya. Now, that's what's even more tragic, that he's in fact admitted that, yes, I have hit her. She is mine and mine alone. I beat her when I am drunk. Not daily, but this happens. These are things that happen in every home. This is Satish's response to it. He claims that he also was abused, but he says all of this is expression of love. Shameful and sad. Atulya had already documented her horror. We believe that she sent out many voice notes to her sister, detailing repeated assaults. The Malayalam channels also in Kerala, in fact, have aired this video that you see on our screens here, where Satish has been lunging a chair on her, trying to abuse her And this was all documented by that girl and sent to her family members. But doesn't seem like it deterred her husband or his family. Following this outrage, Satish has been fired from his job as a site engineer in UAE. A close friend has revealed Atulya had stayed in the marriage hoping that situation would improve, but very sad it didn't. A quick look at a Baba in Uttar Pradesh who was on a conversion spree has now been busted, and the kind of wealth the man has made is unbelievable. From a village amulet seller to the kingpin of a multi-crore religious conversion and money laundering racket, Changur Baba, his rise was built on manipulation and deceit and an elaborate network that stretched beyond India. The UP ATS in Uttar Pradesh, the ATS has arrested this man along with his aide Nasreen for running a well-organized syndicate that targeted vulnerable groups. In fact, they would target women, daily wagers, the poor, promise them money, jobs, and even marriage, all by pushing them to converting to Islam. The real shocker is that the kind of money that was involved here. Authorities found that this man, Changur Baba, operated nearly 40 bank accounts and controlled 106 crores. Most of it reportedly that was flying in from the Middle East. We hear that he was getting money from somewhere where he was using, in the name of conversion or trying to convert people, he was getting funds, and that he used, siphoned it off for his own good use. In fact, he owns illegal properties, many of them across Uttar Pradesh, including one that was recently bulldozed in Balrampur. But the conversion racket was just one part of it. ED has now exposed how this Baba and his aides have moved his black money abroad. His close aide, Naveen Rora, allegedly floated a shell company in Panama. That's how much money this man has made through conversions, that he's pushed money to Panama. A company called Logos Marine SA granted full access to this man called Naveen, where he was dealing foreign accounts for this Baba in India. And another Panama account, a firm in Panama, in fact, based there where it was called Krishna Group SA. Also, again, Naveen was listed as the chairperson there. Again, the same Baba would push in money into that account as well. So the man and his business offshores is shocking. The kind of money that he routed illegally. The ED has busted it, seizing construction deals, real estate papers, settlement deeds, all of which is now in the ED's hands. Look at the way he looks. This is a man who basically handles 107 crores. He's laundered enough money. The modus operandi was quite simple for him. He would convert the poor with false promises, collect foreign donations in the name of welfare, and then clean that money through shell firms and shady real estate deals. Well, he's now in the police custody. And speaking of money laundering, we're looking at Chanda Kochhar. Let me tell you, Chanda Kochhar back in 2017 was named the most powerful Indian woman in business by Fortune International. She was the head of ICICI Bank, the CEO, seen as a symbol of success. But now a tribunal has ruled that Chanda Kochhar has taken 64 crores as bribe for clearing a 300 crore loan to the Videocon group back in 2009. That case has been going on. Now the tribunal court has seen her as guilty in this case. Soon after the loan was given, we hear 64 crores landed into Chanda Kochhar's husband's company, the company called New Power Renewables. It was run by her husband Deepak Kochhar. The money came through another firm that is linked to Videocon's owner. So Chanda had justified saying that she does not interfere into her husband's business deals. Her husband's business is independent of hers. But well, the tribunal has pulled up Chanda Kochhar now for being very much part of all the meetings of ICICI Bank where they approved in urgency loans to Videocon, where she was the one pushing for these loans to be approved to Videocon. 300 crores was approved, and it's observed that out of that 300 crores, all that money, as soon as it went to Videocon as loan, immediately the next day, Chanda Kochhar's husband got nearly 64 crores credited to his account. The tribunal says this is clear conflict of interest and backed the Enforcement Directorate's move to seize Kochhar's assets. Deepak Kochhar was arrested in 2020. Later, both Chanda and Deepak were both arrested again in 2022. They got bail. In fact, in 24, Bombay High Court called their arrest as illegal. But now this new ruling has brought the cash back into the spotlight. We hear the case is now being revisited, raising big questions about corruption at the top levels of the banking pyramid. Now, visuals coming in from Greece. Tense scenes off the coast of Greece as hundreds of Israeli cruise passengers have been stranded on Crown Iris cruise. A holiday cruise was literally stalled after a large anti-Israel protest broke out at a Syros port in Greece. The ship, operated by Israeli company Mano Maritime, was scheduled to dock for 6 hours, but with protesters swarming the docks, waving Palestine flags and chanting slogans, Greek authorities were forced to stop the holiday cruise there that had Israelis on it and stop them from disembarking. As protest, we saw scores of people there at the port condemning the Israeli holiday ship, the cruise, and we saw Israeli passengers in response standing on the deck, holding up their Israeli national flags, singing songs and facing the protests there silently with demonstrators below. Let's take you through the kind of songs and slogans the Israelis on the cruise ship raised. Responding to the people protesting against them. In fact, the protest was organized by local residents as global outrage now continues to grow over Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza, a conflict that's killed thousands and sparked fresh backlash and fierce anger from people across the globe. So those are people in Greece, they're condemning Israelis, and it seems like tourists, Israeli tourists, they're facing the brunt. Quite a scary story that's come to light and has shocked the world, really. Paranormal mystery that's straight out of a horror film, but this isn't Hollywood, it's real. A man is dead. One of the world's most feared haunted objects, the Annabelle doll, is now missing. The paranormal investigator Dan Rivera was found dead last week in a Pennsylvania hotel room where we hear he had that doll right with him. The eerie twist here is that the infamous Annabelle doll that is believed to be demonically possessed has vanished from his room. That doll was very much with him even until the last moment, and sadly Rivera has also died of a sudden death. The cause of death is trying to be they're trying to ascertain it, but the man dies and the doll disappears. Rivera was reportedly traveling with that doll as part of a supernatural tour that was organized by the New England Society for Psychic Research. In fact, the Annabelle doll, as one knows, rose to fame in 1970s after a nursing student had claimed that that doll moved on its own and it scribbled some disturbing messages and even attacked people. It was eventually locked up by the Warrens in a glass case at their occult museum, and it was labeled positively "Do not open." Now, we hear that Rivera had decided to take that doll out and move around for a tour, a universal tour, but unfortunately mid-tour this man has died. Rivera's death is ruled as non-suspicious, but conspiracy theorists aren't convinced, linking the sudden death to the disappearance of this doll. Now, where is the Annabelle doll? No one knows. The doll is unaccounted for. The society says they will, though, continue this paranormal tour in Rivera's memory. But fear among believers is real. It's gripping. The haunted doll that's fully vanished from that room where the man died suddenly. Well, not sure if this is coincidence or if this is a curse of Annabelle at work again. All right. Final look at Karnataka and its clash with UPI. I'm going to take you through a quick detailed analysis here. The Karnataka state traders are very angry. In Karnataka, a growing number of small traders and auto drivers are now pushing back against UPI payments, and the backlash is quite real. One auto rickshaw driver in Bengaluru reportedly refused to accept UPI and asked for cash instead, but the customer wasn't convinced, he walked away without actually paying, bragging about it on social media. He said, you either take UPI or I'm leaving, I'm not paying you cash. So the auto driver, poor guy, was helpless, and this man actually raves about it on social media, and he got criticized for it. The man said that he booked the auto via a ride-hailing app, and since the auto driver had already marked the trip as paid, he refused to pay. Told him that UPI or nothing. He threatened a bit, but it seems like the auto driver did not have his way because he had nobody by his side to fight for it. But this move backfired. Of course, many of them on social platforms slamming the customer for doing this. In fact, the conflict here has risen from the fact that many of the traders in Karnataka now claim that they've received notices, GST tax notices for their UPI payments. Another post I'm going to take you through on Reddit, where a middle-class Indian went against these vendors and traders, saying that they are trying to dodge tax, which is why they are refusing to pay on UPI platforms. The Redditor says salaried people are often paying tax. We are the ones who are burdened. We pay income tax. We have hardly any savings and all of that. We have medical claims and whatnot to pay for, but yet we pay our taxes. Then why can't the others? Why can't vendors? Why can't traders pay taxes adequately? Of course, there was a lot of pushback to this as well. The post has reignited the national debate now on tax fairness, digital accountability, and whether the rules are the same for everyone. So the question is, should small vendors also be pushed into formal system, or do they need a break given their daily struggle to survive? Remember, Karnataka traders are now going on a protest against UPI payments, or against rather tax notices given on their UPI payments from 23rd to 25th of July. So they're already now ripping apart the UPI posters, or what they've actually pasted, the UPI cards. They're pulling it out and they're putting out messages saying only cash, no UPI. So Karnataka traders are certain they want to push back against these notices because they say that they're too poor to pay taxes in a way. Joining me for this a little more to give us some understanding on what this is all about is Nisha Najumuddin, economist and public policy expert. We also have Surabhi Hodigere, spokesperson of the BJP Karnataka, and Vivek Menon, civic expert and former advisor to CM of Karnataka. Let me start with Surabhi Hodigere. Surabhi, BJP has pushed for Digital India, push for payments to go on UPI. At a time like this, Karnataka traders who are really, for them, the means to their life is very humble. And at a time like this, they're getting tax notices. They claim the government has fooled them. They pushed them into digitization and now they're swindling tax from them.
Thank you, Nabila, for that question. This is not an anti-UPI movement that we're seeing here. What we're seeing here is the notices that have been sent to small traders, to small vendors, street vendors particularly, having a disproportional sort of, requirement to pay GST. That is the issue that we are seeing. And that this, I'm not saying this merely by the news reports or primary research. I'm saying this because the BJP in Karnataka has opened a helpline through which we have received hundreds of calls, where we have had conversations with street vendors, with a lot of people who have been facing this issue, and it's a disproportionate amount. The news has reported one such incident where a street vendor, a vegetable vendor, has gotten a tax notice of up to 29 lakh. Now tell me, where is, it doesn't make that kind of sense unless somebody is selling in crores of vegetables, which is not what is logical or commonsensical at this point in time. Therefore, we point the blame squarely at the state tax department that has issued these notices, whether it was through error or intentionally. This needs to be taken into account and made sure that there is rectification of that. It is the state that is doing wrong. It is the state that is going wrong, and that accountability has also been accepted, with CM Siddaramaiah coming out and saying that if we will do a no GST campaign, we will ensure that the right kind of notices are issued, and we will also raise this in the GST Council. This is a misstep by the state government, and we support the vendors who have received these unfair notices and hope that there is resolution soon.
It's a state issue, not a center issue, but as far as I know, a GST tax notice usually comes from central bodies. I'm not too sure where the error is. What's your take on Karnataka traders feeling slighted, that they were pushed into UPI payments and now years later they're actually paying taxes in retrospect?
What is the meaning of pushed into UPI payments? There has never been a push.
My question to Vivek Menon, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Nabila, obviously, the tax regime that exists today is quite aggressive. I mean, in terms of, and I think this has been debated by the GST Council and various other forums, 18%, is pretty significant. And for somebody who's who's eking out a living, a lot of these traders, I mean, obviously the limits have already been set. There's 40 lakhs for goods and 20 lakhs for services. But at the same time, it's a very complicated tax regime. I mean, even I run a business and, if I have to file tax, I have to file almost, 24 returns in a year. And this is just for one branch of mine. And if you have 5 branches, then it's 240. At 10 branches, there's 240 returns. So I think in a certain sense, these people who probably eke out a living from day to day, they're not really, sophisticated enough to be able to file such tax returns. And I think that is where the entire, tax, regulatory compliance becomes a big problem. And I think also, to a certain extent, these traders, face extortion at every level. And I think, to a great extent, I don't want to make this political, but I think the Congress has shot itself in its foot to a great extent, because I think what has happened is today, with all the freebies that they've given, the coffers are empty. And today they're trying to somehow or the other fill them up. And that's why you're seeing a lot of different taxes that are coming in, the solid waste management cess, all of these, and these are a burden. Now, of course, it's not to say that traders shouldn't pay taxes, but I think there's a huge trust deficit that exists today between the common man and the government. And the excesses of the government are what we are ending up paying for. Many of these traders don't get any kind of support from the government.
So Vivek, can you clarify a little if this is a state subject or a central subject? Tax notices comes from where?
GST does have 2 components. There is a component of state GST as well as central GST. And then of course on certain things there's IGST, which is obviously a central thing. So I'm presuming that here there's a component of both. I'm presuming also that there are certain essentials which are exempt from taxes, like your milk, your everyday groceries. All of that is exempt from taxes. But I'm sure traders do get at least a 5 to 18%. I'm not sure where the tax slab lies, and that's the complication. Not many people are really aware of what these tax slabs are. Where do I file something like this?
That's the tragic part. And yes. I don't think the center or the state is at this point explaining to them, making this clear, and basically settling their doubts. It's very sad that the traders have to move back to cash because India was seeing a revolution, walking out without a wallet, just with your phone, making your payments. But now tax notices are clearly going to be burdening them. A final word, Nisha, if you can give me your take on what you think of the vendors now feeling really slighted, upset that they will not use UPI again because they don't trust it now.
See, when the traders switch on to cash, I would say that Indian economy is a king of cash. In fact, I would say that before 2016, a lot of transactions were happening in cash. Even today, it is happening. So that is why we came up with the so-called digitalization of Indian economy. It is indeed very important. Now, when you switch to the cash back again, that to the small traders and vendors, literally this is having a huge impact on the digitalization perspective because the so-called digital India objective of a government of India becomes a question mark, right? And switching to cash again hurts the economy for the fact that point number 1, it starts undermining the transparency to a greater extent because UPI creates a digital paper trail where cash is opaque to some extent, right? And again, moving to cash, if you see what will happen is that it is like paving a path for tax evasion. I repeat, it's not tax avoidance, rather tax evasion and also black money. Right. And now, aren't we not going for a digital economy setback? This is indeed, a problem. And talking in economic terms, I would say that it will also lead to a lot of, loss in the fiscal revenue that we get.
Correct. All right. Well, whatever said, I think the unregulated sector, I really apologize as we're really short on time, apologize to our guests, but the unregulated sector at this point really appears to be a backbone of our economy. We've got to ensure that this issue is settled and their doubts are clear. Thanks very much for tuning in. See you tomorrow.
एसोसिएट स्पॉन्सर डायना प्रीमियम ब्यूटी सोप, पहली झलक करे खूबसूरत।
ये रोशनी का सफर दिलचस्प है।
हम सूरज से सिर्फ बिजली नहीं बनाते हैं, खुशहाली को देश के कोने कोने तक भी पहुंचाते हैं।
ये रोशनी का सफर
अदानी हम करके दिखाते हैं.
Fresh air. The grill, but different. The alloys, but different. The sunroof, but different. The seats, but different. Different is in the XUV 3XO Rev X series, starting at rupees 8.94 lakh.
पढ़ता है, खेलता है, झूलता उछलता है, दौड़ता कभी कभी दौड़ कराता है, आगे आगे बढ़ता है इंडिया, अमूल दूध पीता है इंडिया.
Women in West Bengal should be assured that it is a safe place for them, because justice should be done, served cold, quickly, and it should be done in a way that it is transparent. Peace and prosperity cannot coexist with terrorism and proliferation of weapons of mass destruction in the hands of terror groups. These visuals are the most defining moment when India's defense minister called out China's bluff. The memories of emergency have again become very, very relevant. There is no excuse. It subverted our constitution.
A deep dive into what matters to you the most. Angles you won't find anywhere else. News that impact